We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
The program presented or submitted by members of our community and are a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KNLY 91.1 FM and its affiliates.
Good morning. It's Friday. Yes, it is. We made it to the end of the week. So it is hot topic. Ooh, it is hot today in the studio. Okay, so y'all probably have heard me say on the show before, if you've been listening, but if you haven't, I always said that I always thought about being a lawyer. I didn't do it, but I did move forward and become a judge. So I'm the first. Okay, Tom is here laughing. Welcome this morning in the studio. I have two amazing lawyers in the studio this morning. I've got the Stephanie Prophet. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I have Tom King in the studio. But you're laughing, Tom. I mean, I've got the gavel, so obviously I'm the judge here today.
I've told you would have been a good lawyer.
Thank you. You did say that, but you also said you didn't want the competition, right?
I didn't want the competition.
You didn't want the competition, so I won't do it.
I wouldn't stand a chance.
You wouldn't stand a chance. Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. So good morning. Let's start with Stephanie. So you are a Houston lawyer. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Stephanie Prophet. I'm a family law attorney with an office in downtown Houston, but we practice in the surrounding areas. I've been licensed for 22 years, doing family law almost exclusively that entire time. I am board certified in family law, and I am also board certified in child welfare law.
Wow.
And she's also on the list of the top 25 lawyers in Houston.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, she don't want to mention that.
She didn't want to mention that, so can we talk?
Stephanie's a rock
I don't
star.
know these lists. I'm not on that list,
star.
right? I'm not the lawyer. So tell me how you get on that list and what that's all about, Stephanie.
There's actually a newspaper, or magazine, in Houston where peers and clients can nominate you, and there's a voting process. Honestly, I don't really know how that all works, but
but you're on it. But
I'm on it. So,
so someone nominated. Tom, did you nominate her?
I haven't. Actually, I've never participated in that.
Do I need to pull the gavel out on you?
No, I haven't participated in that. But you look at the list, top 25
That's
family
awesome.
law
Congratulations.
attorneys. Yeah, Stephanie.
That says a lot.
Stephanie has a reputation as being a very tough, difficult lawyer for the other side.
That's what I'm talking about. Love it.
And you're actually board certified in two things, which is super rare.
right.
CPS cases in family law. It's like 1 out of every 10,000 lawyers would have that qualification.
So what does it take to get that? I mean, a lot of
So,
cases,
board certification in family law requires you have to have done 2 jury trials, roughly 30 some odd cases that go to a trial, bunch of mediations. It's a lot of casework. You have to have been licensed at least 5 years. Your practice has to be at least 75% family law. And then, of course, you then have to get you have to have recommendations from judges as well as lawyers, and then you have to take probably the worst test ever.
And then you have to have at least 5 stories of crazy clients. 5, and I guarantee you today we'll have at least 5 stories
you can't wait.
of crazy cases.
Yeah, I bet you've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, she's a force to be reckoned with. My God.
Yes, she is.
Woo! Okay. So tell us about yourself, Tom.
So I started out as a juvenile felony prosecutor down in Galveston.
Okay.
Undefeated in jury trials, including capital murder cases against juveniles.
Okay, so now we know who to call if someone ever needs you,
no,
right?
And then I quit the practice of law for 25 years.
Okay.
And I went through the divorce through hell. And in the middle of that, I said, you know what? I'm going to go back and do what I love to do. So I reactivated my law license, and ever since then, I've been doing family law, but really I specialize in mediation and in doing online mediation. That's my niche.
And in fact,
please.
Tom is the pioneer of basically online mediation, where if there's domestic violence going on and you don't want people in the same room, sometimes you go to mediation, there's no metal detector there. We protect people when they go into the courtrooms, but not necessarily in mediations. And if you've got violence going on, you certainly don't want to be 2 doors down from the person who may have a gun in their pocket or a knife or whatever. And so Tom pioneered this online mediation system where one party can be remote at their office with their attorney, the other party can be remote with their attorney in their office, and then Tom can facilitate the mediation process and save people from, fear of death.
Yeah, but my funnest story about that is I was on a cruise ship with my girlfriend, and in December, and an attorney sent me an email. He said I have to have a mediation tomorrow morning. So when I was 50 miles off the coast of Cuba, I opened up my tablet, and we had both lawyers and both clients on the screen, and we did our mediation, and we got it all settled so that by 10 a.m. I had my whole poolside bar tab paid for.
That's awesome.
That's pretty impressive.
Before my girlfriend woke up. So I'm the only person in Texas that does video conference mediation for family law attorneys. So there's it's modern lifestyle stuff.
Yeah, and what made you do that, Tom? What you saw a need, obviously, but what kind of sparked you to do that?
I guess I'm very technology forward, and I was just wondering why there's so much that wasn't being taken advantage of.
Okay.
But
Sure.
So that's my fun niche. I do some jury trials for family law.
Okay.
It also helps too. It's not just the domestic violence, but it also helps when, for example, I had a case that you mediated where the mother was in Florida. And so rather than mom, who had limited resources, flying all the way to Houston to do a mediation, flying back to Florida, and then having to possibly fly back for a trial, which actually had to happen, she was able to appear. She was actually the opposing side, but she was able to appear via video conference, and we were able to mediate without her having to make the trip. So
I have them from all over the world participate in mediation.
This is huge.
I had someone in the military from their military base in Georgia appear off their cell phone. The mother was on a landline in the swamps of Louisiana. The lawyer was in Shreveport on a landline.
Right.
The other lawyer was by video, and we mixed video and audio together, and we got signatures in 3 minutes when we finished everything.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so today, obviously, you can hear everyone out there. We're talking.
I want to say one thing.
Oh, well,
So-
say it. Wait.
Oh, goodness.
We have a front.
I think so. Yes, you have the floor.
We have
Go
someone
ahead.
that we respect mutually, which is Judge Chip Wells. And
yes, Chip Wells.
And so he goes, Mr. King, I understand you have a motion today for the child to be interviewed in the courtroom. Where's your child? And I turned around my tablet. I said, he's here right now looking at you from the principal's office. He's got a 4.0 in high school, and he couldn't afford to miss because he's got an exam today that he couldn't miss. He goes, bring the tablet back.
Wow.
And they conducted the interview of
That's
the
so
child
weird.
in his chambers, and then he came back out on the bench. He goes, Mr. King, that's how we should do it with kids.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, modern technology has moved in a lot of ways for the better, right? And that's a great example of how it's worked and what you've created. So that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting stuff, but that's not the crazy stuff
That's
about
not the crazy
family
stuff.
law.
So
family law
yeah.
is crazy.
Well, so real quick, let me tell everybody, Tom, today we're going to be talking about family law, obviously, because
Yes,
we're biting at it here. I got these lawyers and they're hot and ready to go. But specifically, crisis in the family courts, I think is what you wanted me to kind of talk about. And the key points today is we're going to cover domestic violence with, how that goes on, CPS, child abuse cases, child support, deadbeats, and other forbidden topics that are going to come up, and everything in between. If it gets too out of hand, this is why I have my gavel, because
No, where did you get that gavel?
Well, I said I was a judge for the day. So
Okay.
doesn't every judge get one?
Yes, but you
Okay,
actually...
so next question. We're
Okay.
moving forward.
I've
So
been
we're going to take a quick
overruled.
commercial. We'll be right back.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Cupcakes and Bubbles, located at 26400 Kirkendall Road in Tomball, Texas. Cupcakes and Bubbles has the sweetest and most delicious cupcakes for the entire family. From chocolate raspberry, strawberry rhubars, cookies and cream, and the most popular among kids, the s'mores cupcake. Come and enjoy our cupcakes with a glass of your favorite bubbles. Visit www.cupcakesandbubbles.com for the complete list of our delicious cupcakes. Order online through our webpage. DoorDash and Uber Eats is available too. Enjoy life's sweetest moments with Cupcakes and Bubbles.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
It started as a dream. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to have my own restaurant. And it was a dream that finally we had the opportunity to build it here in the Woodlands. And I'm so happy with it.
It's a really authentic Italian food. I try to maintain the most original possible. It's very important. Every day I make my fresh pasta.
Chi mangia bene, mangia
italiano.
italiano. Please come and visit us.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY
Turn on your glam today.
91.1
The Jenna Klein collection is here, elaborated with natural products. Give yourself a compliment with our organic lip glosses in more than 15 shades. With the Jenna Klein Lip Gloss collection, you can hydrate your lips and keep that glamorous look that you need. Turn on your glam. Visit jennaklein.com. And don't forget our skincare collection with natural ingredients that will improve the skin's appearance and prevent visible signs of aging. We have everything you need to achieve smooth and vitalized skin. jennaklein.com. Turn on your glam today.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Hi, I'm NASCAR driver Kyle Larson. Whatever I'm driving, I do everything I can to stay focused and safe. You should too. That means no drinking and driving, ever. Because even the smallest amount of alcohol can make you skid out of control. Don't be a loser and wreck your life. Be a winner. Don't drink and drive. Remember, drink, drive, go to jail.
Woodlands Prime Lending, offering business loan programs for all types of endeavors. Need a startup loan, equipment financing, or even a business line of credit? Woodlands Prime Lending offers a variety of commercial loans to help you get funded when you need it. Call 713-900-7170 or visit us on our website at woodlandsprimelending.com to schedule an appointment today. Getting a loan is easy with Woodlands Prime Lending.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Good morning and welcome back to the courtroom. Yes, it is. Cachet has a gavel in her hand. Today on the show, we are talking all about family law, crisis in the family courts, and I have the amazing Stephanie Prophet in the studio, and we have Tom King. Oh, you're amazing too.
She's amazing.
Yeah, but after what I just heard about her, you're good. You're a lawyer. We like you. Yeah. Okay, so let's just jump right in. Let's go right into this domestic violence. I think that's the first one here on the list. So one of the questions that's posed here is how often is domestic violence against the man versus, or lied to about by the woman in the cases? Or vice versa. I mean, however you want to word it, yeah.
Domestic violence is horrible.
Okay.
The biggest mistake people make is when they don't report it. Mm-hmm. And just as egregious as when they're falsely accused.
Correct. And I think one of the worst parts about family law, and this has been around for 22 years, and probably beyond, I can only speak for the last 22, but it seems to be a pattern sometimes when there are false allegations made that it starts with my husband beat me, and then when that doesn't stick, then they amp it up, and the next allegation is my husband is beating the children, and then when that doesn't work, they amp it up, and then the next is he's sexually abusing the children. And you know, sometimes we get experts out there and they're able to figure it out and know whether a person is telling the truth or not, but sometimes we don't.
Right.
And the worst things that happen are when people actually get, not only are they separated from their children due to false allegations, but then they are ultimately, criminally convicted possibly. And so I'm a true believer that there is abuse out there, that there is horrible things that happen to people, but don't make the allegation if it's not true. That's the worst thing you can do.
And let me tell you, there is so much false evidence and false testimony. You and I were talking about this. I had a case in the last month in which the man and the woman had broken up, and she started circulating sonogram pictures and photos of their baby. Okay? And she starts sending pictures. This is your son. You need to start taking care of it. Then she sends it to the guy's mom and the guy's family. Then they get on the guy because he's not taking care of his baby. So then he gets the image and he does a Google Images search.
Wow.
And they find out that she had ripped off the pictures 10 years earlier from a premature baby website. She comes into mediation carrying a baby carrier with a blanket over it.
Wow.
And there's no baby in there.
Wow.
And then she does fake text messages that are horrible.
Do you want to expand on that? Well, someone says fake text messages out there listening.
She's got pages.
Yeah.
She's got pages of him saying horrible things. He's like, I never said those things.
So how does a fake text message, how does that happen?
Oh my gosh! You go into like either your Android or your iPhone, and you download any app that's called Fake Message Maker.
Wow.
And the mediator didn't believe me.
Wow.
So when she went to the other room and she came back, I said, Jane, I can't believe you sent me this sexually explicit message just seconds ago. I said to the mediator. She goes, I didn't say anything. I said, sure. Here, look. And I'd done this very funny, silly exchange.
Only once.
Only once.
Right.
And then she goes, delete that. I go, it's gone. But the point is, people lie.
Right.
You can catch them sometimes, but
Yeah.
who always gets hurt the most are the kids.
They're the kids.
Correct.
Are the
Yeah.
kids every
Yeah.
time.
Well,
Mom's accusing
yeah.
dad of something that you did this, so therefore I get custody. It always comes out in the wash.
Well, and so here's then another question. People out there are saying, and you bring up a great point, there are probably women and men out there who are dancing on the fence. Do I call? Is my situation considered that? Is there a time when it's not worth the call, but it's
No.
worth getting counseling? That's the next question.
I agree with Tom. I think that you have to make the call, and maybe the call isn't to the police. Maybe
Great
maybe
point. Great
you need
point.
to just go to the doctor's office and have documentation done. Maybe you need to, video record yourself saying and explaining the situation of what happened so that you do have the evidence, the photographs. But you need to do something about it because if you don't, it's always there. Counseling is important. I'm a firm advocate for people trying to work through their differences, but there's also the time to say enough's enough. And that's where the protective order courts
Let's
come
talk
into
about that.
place.
Great point. My next question, let's talk about protective orders. So how effective are they, right? And when should those kind of be put, actually done? I mean, when should someone actually take that step and say, hey, I think I need protective order, or how does it work?
We have been working through my office recently with a protective order, actually protecting an employee of my firm who was in an abusive relationship, and it ultimately resulted in a protective order, which was quickly violated. A protective order, there's a specific court in Harris County. Now, the other outlying counties, the primary district courts do the protective orders. But in Harris County, there's the 280th District Court. That is where they make determinations as to whether or not family violence has occurred, and if it's likely to occur in the future, and if there is a need for protection, and they issue a protective order. The problem with protective orders is they are a piece of paper, and so which cannot stop a bullet or a speeding vehicle or anything like that. And so right now there's a lot of concern, especially in Harris County, because the DAs aren't prosecuting the violations of the protective orders, and they're not ensuring that people get the ankle monitors on when that is a term of their probation. And so there's a very big move right now to crack down on the violent criminals, and domestic violence is a violent crime.
Yes.
And additionally, with protective orders, a lot of times the person who's the claimed victim lies. And when the protective order courts are, in my opinion, I think the one in Harris County is excellent. I think Judge Stalder does a great job. But I think there is a tendency in general, This is not about Judge Stalder at all. I think there's a tendency in general, better safe than sorry. I just better do a protective order. And sometimes that protective order will say, cannot be around mom and the kids. Well, now dad can't be around the kids. And so it's a great tool. It's a needed tool. It's an abused tool.
Got it. So let's dig in now to a little bit going into the CPS, if we can. Let's switch gears here. Let's talk about the CPS office. I mean, I've heard some horror stories. I've heard as much as kids sleeping in the office there, and overworked. How effective is our CPS office here in Houston, and what changes, if any, should be occurred immediately?
CPS is my nemesis.
Okay.
I find that there are some really, really good caseworkers, and they work very hard hours, and they are on the clock all the time, and they are doing their job. And unfortunately, because it is an underpaid, overworked position, there are more workers, in my opinion, who don't do their jobs. And we've had more and more cases in recent years where there is abuse and they do nothing, or even worse, in my opinion, there isn't abuse and CPS comes in and they remove children from good families. And some families don't have the resources to hire an attorney to go down and fight back. And so it's become an epidemic. There's a lot of legislation being proposed at this time because of medical abuse pediatric doctors who have a goal of finding child abuse. And when your funding is dependent on finding abuse, that kind of gives you an incentive to find abuse. And we've had a slew of cases in recent years where a doctor at either Texas Children's or Memorial Hermann Children's or any of the other hospitals, as a matter of fact, where there are what they're called CAP doctors, child abuse protection doctors, and they're not getting second opinions, and they're just making a blanket. It's a form that they fill out, and it says, is this likely abuse or not? And if they check yes, CPS comes and they take your kids. And so I recently had a case about a year and a half ago where a CPS caseworker actually took the stand and pled the fifth when he was asked about whether or not he had lied at the removal hearing. That case actually resulted in CPS getting sanctioned $127,000.
Okay, that case. Yep. So, okay, so the other thing is that, similar with district attorneys' offices, is the problem is the lawyers are young and inexperienced, and they haven't learned discretion and using good judgment. And the majority of the CPS workers, equally working super hard, meant the vast majority of them are very young. Because no one can work that long and that hard and still be doing it in their 50s and 60s usually, right? And so what you have is a tendency with prosecutors to see stuff that's not there. I actually had a reputation in Galveston. I dismissed so many cases because it wasn't there. And you're there to do justice, not to convict, right? And so with CPS, your mandate is to protect children, but to do justice. And many of these people, well, mom wouldn't lie. Really? Really? How long have you been on this planet? Dad wouldn't lie.
But Tom, let's go a little deeper. I mean, let's go a little deeper. I mean, what I'm hearing cases about, kids being locked in cages or, kids being malnutrition and haven't fed for a while. There's bound to be.
Oh, I'll give you a horrible one. Well,
I bet you will. But there's bound to be a process. And I'm asking where caseworkers go out to these homes, and and I'm assuming CPS has some type of process that says if you see this, you walk up to the house. There's boards on the wall. There's got to be certain things that are seen that say this is a red flag, and now it has to go to the next level.
So how about this?
Yeah,
years ago,
are there steps?
Years ago, I represented Dad, and in this case, Dad was the good person in a county that borders Harris County. The child was 4 years old. The child had been getting raped by the mom's boyfriend for 3 years.
Okay.
The mom had taken the child to the doctor and had white stuff coming out of all the wrong places.
Okay.
That's the nicest way I can say it.
Okay.
It was medically documented.
Okay.
Dad finds out about this, calls CPS in this other county. In this county that borders Harris County doesn't have a single hospital or emergency room in the county. So they have to take the child into Harris County. So now it's a different CPS jurisdiction, and it's a different sheriff department, and it's a different district attorney's office. Okay? To this day, 3 years later, they know who the guy is who did the rape.
Okay.
They've got the medical reports. They've got horrible images.
So what are you saying, Tom?
He hasn't been arrested yet.
So in summary,
He hasn't been arrested yet.
So in summary, to that point, I hear we can go on and on.
Jurisdiction also hurts.
What needs to be changed? Where does it start, really? I mean, because at the end of the day, the cases are endless.
I'll tell you where it starts.
Okay.
So it starts with the legislature. They've got to tighten up the reins on this. They have got to set standards, and they've got to set training. The other place it starts is they've got to hire people that they're going to pay to do their jobs.
Bingo.
Bingo. And so the funding needs to be there. And training is paramount. Caseworkers are they are a godsend in a lot of ways, and a lot of people would probably say, "Oh my God, Stephanie's saying good things about CPS," but the fact is, CPS does protect children. They just don't get it right every time, and you know what? Nobody expects them to get it right every time, but the percentages need to be better, and they need to prosecute, and they need to go forward when things are out there. One of the things that unfortunately Tom and I see a lot is there is abuse. We know there's abuse. The evidence is there. CPS knows it's there. But let's say, for example, mom is the perpetrator, dad takes possession of the child, and CPS says, well, dad has the kids, so we're out.
And they're out. They're ready to disclose
And
it. Yeah.
suddenly we've got a case where they're not prosecuting the person who abused the child because, well, dad has stepped in. Right. And while that's a great solution, a lot of times it's then used as evidence against dad that, well,
right.
it was all,
right.
CPS is out of the case, so it doesn't matter.
And the abuser, the abuser's still out there.
Right.
So they're going to continue to go on and do something else again. You've not solved the problem.
Correct.
So I hear where you're going. I mean, it has to start back, streamlining the process, and that first line of, so to speak, defense, the caseworker has to be on point.
Right.
Has to be on point. The money has to be there to hire the right people to do the job. Period.
And the legislation needs to be there to set out the rules and to make sure that there is a process that makes sense and
Perfect.
where children are protected, but that citizens' rights to raise their children are also
still protected. Very good.
I'm going to say it.
Are you?
I think almost all the...
Do I need to do this with my gavel?
Get ready.
I'm going to be careful. What are you going to say now?
I mean, to me, Stephanie, am I wrong? Maybe 2/3 of all cases, there are drugs involved. They're passive use.
Probably.
How many
Maybe.
times have you heard it's just marijuana?
all the time.
Oh my gosh.
But capture the point. The guidelines need to be put in place that would help streamline that, so that.
But also
Right?
drugs. Nothing good happens with bad drugs. Nothing good happens with bad drugs.
Well, true.
Well, people would say, well, if nothing good happens, I wouldn't be paying for it. But I mean, drugs. I'm stunned at how often I still find. Oh, and when was the last time you used marijuana? You know, it goes back 6 months, right? The drug testing. I always tell them a year. So if they, because someone who uses it knows I have a case, they may be able to stay off for 6 months.
Were you
but
saying
they,
that
but they won't be able to stay off for a year.
Are you saying testing of drug usage needs to be a part of the process?
No. Yes.
Okay.
But in that option exists. But what I'm saying is, I mean, I actually just think drug testing ought to be standard in a family case when they're kids.
Sounds good.
Period. That's
I agree.
what I would do.
Let's do it.
It's only money.
So let's move on to the next
It's only
point.
money.
The next point, and I want you to describe this, Tom, or kind of go into the definition. Parental alienation. What is that?
So parental alienation is when one parent's around the children and they say, "Your dad did this. Your dad's a bad person. Oh, he never pays his child support, or he's behind again." Or it goes the other way. And basically the children get brainwashed. And thank God it was a topic at this past year's Advanced Family Law Seminar in San Antonio, our big statewide confab that we go to. And alienation was front and center as one of the main topics about it is now a reason that you can use to have a change in custody. If one parent is brainwashing the children, oh my stars. It is so damaging to the children because the children always figure it out in time.
That's
Stephanie,
true, but
what do you think about
unfortunately,
that?
sometimes it's too late.
10 years later.
Yeah, 10 years later or so.
And they didn't invite you to the high school
let's let-
and college
So
graduation.
Stephanie, what
Sorry.
do you think, Stephanie?
Well, what I was going to say, is that I've represented children as well.
Yes, that's what I meant. Otherwise, Tom, my courtroom here, you already know, I'm a judge here.
So I've represented children as an amicus attorney.
Okay.
That's where you're court appointed by the court, obviously, to look out for the best interest of children. And I've interviewed children as little as 2 years old, all the way up to 18. And I've had kids tell me, well, when I was a baby, my mother did this, or when I was only a toddler, my dad did this to my mom. And there's zero possibility that they have a personal memory. So it's clear that someone has told them.
Right.
And obviously, it's usually the person whose position they're trying to, advance.
Right.
And so, you get kids who, as Tom started to say before we bang the gavel on him.
Yes.
Sometimes you've got kids who don't invite their fathers to their, high school graduations, or they don't invite their mothers to their wedding, or whatever. And sometimes these kids are 30 years old, 40 years old before they realize and look back and go,
Wow,
holy
I was
smokes,
manipulated.
I believed all of these things that dad or mom or sometimes even grandma or grandpa said about my parent, even though I never really saw it or experienced it. And look what has happened to me. And a lot of times these are kids who end up with what we often refer to as daddy issues or mommy issues. Right. And it's sad, because shouldn't we care most about our kids?
Exactly.
I actually have a rule. I call it Tom King's 12-10 rule.
Okay.
Okay, my silly name. And I would tell my clients,
You have a
I
wonderful name.
said, before you agree to this or whatever you're doing, you need to ask yourself, financially, can you survive for the next 12 months if you take this act, if you settle the case? And 10 years from now, when you talk to your kids, will you be able to be proud of what decisions you made?
Wow.
Okay? And so, because a lot of people say, I just want to get divorced, I'll take whatever deal I can, and financially they're in trouble for the next 12 months, and it gets worse. But also, 8 or 10 years from now, they're not able to defend what they did. And so I just say, you need to be able to make decisions today that 12 years from now or 10 years from now, you'll be able to say, I made this decision, and this is why, and you didn't understand it, but I'm proud that I made it back then, or I didn't.
Right.
Basically, you have to live
kids
with the
always
decision
figure
you
it
made
out.
and hopefully make...
Children
Yeah.
always figure it out.
Yeah. We're going to take another quick commercial, and when we come back, we're going to let you lead it with talking about child support. All right. We'll be right back.
And deadbeats.
And deadbeats. We'll be right back.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Turn on your glam today. The Jenna Klein collection is here, elaborated with natural products. Give yourself a compliment with our organic lip glosses in more than 15 shades. With the Jenna Klein lip gloss collection, you can hydrate your lips and keep that glamorous look that you need. Turn on your glam. Visit jennaklein.com. And don't forget our skincare collection with natural ingredients that will improve the skin's appearance and prevent visible signs of aging. We have everything you need to achieve smooth and vitalized skin. jennaklein.com. Turn on your glam today.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
It started as a dream. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to have my own restaurant. And it was a dream that finally we had the opportunity to build it here in the Woodlands. And I'm so happy with it.
It's a really authentic Italian food. I try to maintain the most original possible. It's very important. Every day I make my fresh pasta.
Chi mangia bene, mangia italiano. Please come and visit us.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY
Cupcakes and Bubbles,
91.1
located
FM.
at 26400 Kirkendall Road in Tomball, Texas. Cupcakes and Bubbles has the sweetest and most delicious cupcakes for the entire family. From chocolate raspberry, strawberry rhubars, cookies and cream, and the most popular among kids, the s'mores cupcake. Come and enjoy our cupcakes with a glass of your favorite bubbles. Visit www.cupcakesandbubbles.com for the complete list of our delicious cupcakes. Order online through our webpage. DoorDash and Uber Eats is available too. Enjoy life's sweetest moments with Cupcakes and Bubbles.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Do you feel that your energy costs are unnaturally high? Do you want to fortify your building and keep it strong and secure for years to come? Then NRG Spray Foam Installation is the answer you're looking for. Our unique foam installation is made to help our customers save in energy, prevent gas, air, and moisture infiltration, as well as helping with general stability in your building structure. Call us at 713-936-3021 or visit us online at nrgfoam.com for more information. NRG Spray Foam. Building green, living green.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
It's time to change. If you like country, we play it. If you like pop, we play it. If you like Latin music, we play it. If you like rock and roll, we play it. Because no one does fusion music like we do. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Good morning. Yes, it is Hot Topic Friday here in the studio, and it's hot because I've got two amazing, yes, I said two. I have two amazing attorneys in the studio, Stephanie Prophet and, yes, the Tom
Stephanie's
King.
great.
And I'm judge today. I kind of like being judge for an hour. It's kind of fun. Anyway, let's get into it. So we were talking about child support, and we were talking about deadbeat. That was what you threw out at the end there.
When you say deadbeat, what's the next word you want to say?
Dads! Dads!
And it's not always dads.
No, it's not always dads.
But it is a good part. Stephanie will talk about her opinion on deadbeat moms.
Okay.
But child support, it's like going to the DMV, except no one ever walks out excited, right? I got my license. No, it's like I'm here for the fourth time with my kids, and I had to miss work, and usually he's not even here, or the judge won't put him in jail. And to me, the one thing is it's horrible when people don't pay their child support. It's also horrible when someone doesn't pay their child support or they're behind and the other party uses that as a reason to not let them see their children, which is illegal.
Correct.
Okay? And that happens too. So to anyone who has primary custody of your children and you're not getting your child support, don't ever not have them see the kids, because studies say a parent who is still seeing their kids has like a 90% chance improvement in having that emotional connection and then paying their child support. It's in the mom's best interest to have dads seeing their kids, as long as they're healthy, even if they're not paying child support, because eventually they will. Or they'll go to jail. And a lot of people don't realize you can go to jail. Can't they, Stephanie?
Well, because there's also a love factor, right? You're supposed to want the child to get some love, right? Okay, go ahead, Stephanie. Tell your story.
And coming off of that, you're right. Shouldn't we want our children to get as much love as they can possibly get? And even if it's with the person that you don't want to have anything to do with anymore,
Ever.
that is a person whose half of their DNA runs through your child's veins. And so you really should want to do everything in your power to encourage it. And if you can't encourage it, at least don't discourage it. But we were talking about deadbeats, and as Tom said, usually we go deadbeat dad, right?
It's kind of right.
But I find in my practice that women are the worst offenders when it comes to child support. I had a case that the children are now over 18, but many, many years ago, probably 2005, dad got primary custody of his two young daughters, and mom was ordered to pay, I don't even think it was $250 a month in child support for two kids. It was below minimum wage support. And we had to file motion after motion after motion to have her held in contempt and to be to threaten jail. And it got to the point that the court finally put her on probation that lasted until the youngest child turned 18, and it was almost every 6 months we had to take her down to court. The judge would have to hold her in contempt, put her in handcuffs, and the miracle money tree would grow outside of the courthouse, and she would suddenly pay up her child support. And you know, when you are enforcing child support, for those of you out there who do have someone, whether it's the ex-wife or the ex-husband or father or mother of your children who's not paying, you can enforce that, and the court shall grant you reasonable attorney's fees to do that. So it's really quite, with a lack of a better word, stupid to not pay your child support, because like this lady, for example, her child support was roughly, let's say, $200 a month. That's what, $2,400
a year.
Yeah, $2,400 a year. But every time she got taken to court and was held in contempt, she would have to pay attorney's fees in the range of somewhere between $1,500 to sometimes $3,000. So she, by the time her children were 18, she probably paid about 3 times
what she would
the
have had
child
to
support
pay.
because she just absolutely refused. It's just not good, and it's not healthy for your kids. They eat every day. You should be supporting them every day.
Totally agree.
Seems reasonable. But, you know, when you talk about clogged courts in the family courts, a lot of people don't really think about it. There are way more child support payment cases than all the others, right?
Oh, right.
I mean, it's so busy that in some counties, like in Harris County, the district courts that handle the family law cases, we create these small additional courts.
Are you
child
telling me
support
that
courts.
in family law cases, child support cases are probably the highest?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
What do you think? It's maybe
Wow.
70% of all cases around non-payment?
Wow.
60?
Okay, I don't know the
It's over
percentage,
half.
but I will
Yeah.
tell
It's
you
gotta be over
this.
half.
There are 4 very specific courts in Harris County that have the sole responsibility of establishing child support and enforcing child support. Now, the other 10 courts in Harris County also enforce child support, and they also implement child support.
Okay.
But these specific courts that I'm talking about, they have dockets that go from 8 o'clock in the morning all the way until
five,
5 or whatever at night.
At night.
And it is a constant. And there are, 3 or 4 attorney general, assistant attorney generals
Basically
there
prosecutors.
that are handling the cases. And then they have, for lack of a better word, paralegals that are helping them also with negotiations and things. And it is just, it's going
vicious
constantly.
cycle.
But you've been there since
Yeah.
7:30 in the morning because everybody has to check in the early morning.
And so what's
then
the-
usually there's a mom
Yeah.
there with a kid or two sitting there 8, 9, 10 hours missing that
Okay,
day
so
of work.
Tom.
And paying daycare on the other hand, if they have to put their kid in daycare to come to court.
It's horrible.
Well,
It's
isn't there-
ridiculous.
I mean, what happened to, and I don't know, I'm asking more than I'm saying here, I'm asking, what happened to garnishing of the wages? Like, okay, so you think about when a percentage of your check automatically goes to the person. That is the law. That is what's required. So I go, I'm Judge Cachet. I say 25% of your paycheck goes to pay for your child. It is set up in the system that 25% of your paycheck goes to the child. Simple as that.
And then he says, I cut yards. I'm an entrepreneur.
Or-
no one gives me a paycheck.
Or he bounces from job to job to job.
Yeah.
You know, in our community, there's a lot of people that work out at the plants, right? You know, they're out or in the construction field. These folks are working, and they are working hard every single day. But today they might work for ABC Corporation as a contract employee out at the Shell refinery. And then tomorrow they may work for XYZ company, and they're at the Chevron
And
refinery.
they didn't update it with the state where they were
And-
working.
Right,
them.
and so
Can't track them.
there's no update because it's usually not high priority to, hey, let's make sure that they know to garnish my wages. And so
really
these
important.
Yeah.
gaps in time is what creates these arrearages.
Yeah.
And I know, again, back in the day, it used to be these guys would be, or girls, would be tens of thousands behind, and they would set payments at like $25 per month. And the interest on the money was 3 times what the payment was. And so we also had the issues where guys would get to the point, or girls, where their
Yeah.
child would emancipate, and they still had tens of thousands of
Left.
dollars. And nobody wants to pay child support when their child is having children.
Well, I was going to ask that, and we can move on to the next point. One last question on that. So let's say someone is, gone 17 years. and didn't tell someone they had a child, and then all of a sudden, 17 years later, you know what, this is your child, and I want all of my, what does the law say? Is there a time frame on that, and how does that work?
So the time frame is 2 years after the child's emancipation, but usually...
What's that word mean? Emancipation?
Once a child is
Never
over...
mind. She doesn't have to answer that question.
No, I mean, most people don't know what that word means.
Moving on to the next
So
point.
once the child is an adult. But anyway, so the problem is equity, and family courts are courts of equity. And so how fair is it to Tom King if Stephanie Prophet walks in tomorrow and says, oh, by the way, this is your 17-and-a-half-year-old daughter. Sorry I didn't tell you about her all this time, but I would like 17 years of back child support.
She would be beautiful and brilliant.
Oh, and you'd pay. And you'd pay, Tom.
Oh, goodness.
I would have already paid for it.
You'd give her extra for troubles.
I would have already paid for it.
He just wants to embarrass me. Anyway, but I've argued this. I've had cases where, the woman lived right across the street. The guy was involved with the child. The guy was supporting the child. And then she comes in at age 10 or 12 and says, I want all this back child support because all that money you gave me all these years, it was just gifts. Also, there's always the argument that how much makeup time does dad get if mom waited 10 years to tell him? Yeah. Does he get to have primary custody for the next 8 years so that, he can make up that time? It's
crazy.
There's just no equity in it.
So we're going to take another quick commercial, and when we come back, we're going to get into some last-minute unforbidden topics, and we're going to let Tom lead that. So we'll be right back.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your fusion radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Cupcakes and Bubbles, located at 26400 Kirkendall Road in Tomball, Texas. Cupcakes and Bubbles has the sweetest and most delicious cupcakes for the entire family. From chocolate raspberry, strawberry rhubars, cookies and cream, and the most popular among kids, the s'mores cupcake. Come and enjoy our cupcakes with a glass of your favorite bubbles. Visit www.cupcakesandbubbles.com for the complete list of our delicious cupcakes. Order online through our webpage. DoorDash and Uber Eats is available too. Enjoy life's sweetest moments with Cupcakes and Bubbles.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
It started as a dream. When I was a little kid, I always wanted to have my own restaurant. And it was a dream that finally we had the opportunity to build it here in the Woodlands. And I'm so happy with it.
It's a really authentic Italian food. I try to maintain the most original possible. It's very important. Every day I make my fresh pasta.
Chi mangia bene, mangia italiano. Please come and visit us.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY.
Turn on your glam today. The Jenna Klein collection is here, elaborated with natural products. Give yourself a compliment with our organic lip glosses in more than 15 shades. With the Jenna Klein Lip Gloss collection, you can hydrate your lips and keep that glamorous look that you need. Turn on your glam. Visit jennaklein.com. And don't forget our skincare collection with natural ingredients that will improve the skin's appearance and prevent visible signs of aging. We have everything you need to achieve smooth and vitalized skin. jennaklein.com. Turn on your glam today.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Woodlands Prime Lending, offering business loan programs for all types of endeavors. Need a startup loan, equipment financing, or even a business line of credit? Woodlands Prime Lending offers a variety of commercial loans to help you get funded when you need it. Call 713-900-7170 or visit us on our website at woodlandsprimelending.com to schedule an appointment today. Getting a loan is easy with Woodlands Prime Lending.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. It's time to change. If you like country, we play it. If you like pop, we play it.
when I did not know no pain.
If you like Latin music, we play it. If you like rock and roll, we play it. Because no one does fusion music like we do. 91.1 FM, The Ball.
Good morning and welcome back to the show. It is Hot Topic Friday and it is hot stuff going on in the studio this morning. I have the amazing Stephanie Prophet and I have Tom King as well, two amazing lawyers here in Houston in the studio this morning, and they're letting me play judge, so it's kind of fun. Anyway, we were talking all kinds of things this morning, but I wanted to turn it over to you. You said you've got all these stories. You're amazing with all these stories. So
crazy.
give us something kind of interesting that is out there that we
Okay,
just don't
so
realize.
recently there was a case where I found out that the client believed the earth was flat. And it was a custody case. They were fighting for it. And
Okay.
so I told her she was stinking crazy.
Okay.
And the earth was spherical. And she said, well, there's really two sides to that. And I said something that I thought was very funny that nobody laughed at. I said, no, there's not two sides to it. It's spherical.
Okay.
But I mean,
but
she said, you need to see all the videos and you need to research it. So she was crazy.
So what do you do with a client when they're like that? Like,
Bill up front.
I think
Yes,
I've
Stephanie,
had
you
this
chime in.
conversation
Okay.
with a lot of people. In
Yeah.
fact, any of my friends who are out there listening to this, they'll be like, you're talking about me. I don't know if people have just gotten crazier over the years or
Drugs.
if
We talked
hiding
about
your
drugs.
crazy is no longer necessary. You know, now we are such a live and let live, be and let be.
Yep.
You know, maybe hiding your crazy isn't as important to people these days, because I will tell you, it has gotten so crazy.
Please don't
And-
talk about Bernie Sanders. I'm sorry. He's crazy. He's crazy.
Oh,
Okay.
Tom
So-
King.
well, you know,
Anyway.
Tom, order in this courtroom. I respect your feelings, but we were letting Stephanie speak. So, Stephanie, proceed, please. And if you
I'm
one more
just
talk
saying-
from you, I'll have to remove you from the courtroom. Okay, go ahead, Stephanie.
I just think that, you know, we hear the craziest stuff sometimes, and one of the things that I'd like to say, not just to the audience out there that are in a family law case or may know someone in a family law case, but also lawyers and psychologists and people who are fringe to this whole phenomenon. You know, we bring in clients, we listen to them, we trust in what they're saying, and we then have a duty to try to figure out, is this true? Is it correct? Is there a twist? And based on that, make a decision on how to get them the best outcome, but also always having in mind what is in the best interest of the children.
And Stephanie, I'm so glad you're talking about this morning in the conference room. We were talking before, and you know, I was saying how I've always said, I want to be a lawyer. And I have a new sense of respect for you as lawyers after listening to you this morning in the conference room, because you educated me so well, you too, Tom, on how it is so difficult as a lawyer. You are out there fighting for people. People walk in your office. We ask for representation. We ask for your help. But it is so difficult for you guys to know when someone walks in how honest they're being.
Okay, so I said to this guy,
Tom.
we're about to go in front of the judge, and I said, are you still having sex with this woman? He goes, no, I'm not. You know exactly where I'm going.
Oh,
with
this
this
is
guy.
your, back
Clinton.
to the story.
No,
okay,
no.
like where are we going?
Yeah,
Okay.
and he goes, no, we're not. So then he gets on the stand, and and the other attorney goes, is it true that you're having sexual relationships with this woman? No, I'm not. Didn't you have sex with her yesterday? Yes, but not today.
Oh my.
I mean, either they lie, or they're stupid about lying, or
Well, I think people, back to your point, I think people just are trying to be right, or want to be right, or want to win, and they're saying whatever they need to say.
Well, and sometimes
I don't know.
Sometimes it's also, and I don't know if I say this because it makes me feel better at the end of the day, but I think that it's also perspective.
Okay.
You know, and it's that glass half full, glass half empty kind of thing. You know, sometimes a client will come in and say, he's so mean to me. He says this, he says that, and I feel horrible. And, you know, I go in my room and I cry myself to sleep every night. And it's the emotional abuse is just taking a toll on me. Yeah. And they might even have rashes or they're tearing their hair out. And it truly is happening to them. Okay. And then you get the other side, and the other side's like, well, I came home and all of the dishes were still out on the counter. Yeah. The clothes hadn't been done. We have a deal that, you know, she does those two things and I do these things. And so I asked her, like, why haven't you done this? And she starts screaming hysterically. I'm, you know, making her do things that she shouldn't have to do. And she goes off to her room and cries. Well, both stories are true. She's upset and she has her perspective. Yeah. He has his perspective. So I try not to think that people are lying. Okay. But one thing I will say is when you know your client's lying, you have to get out.
There you go.
Because as a lawyer, we cannot condone perjury. There you go. And if I have a client on the stand and my client says he took a knife and held it to my throat and, you know, blah, 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 and I've got concrete evidence that it is absolutely a lie. Maybe she's even told me ahead of time, it didn't really happen, but I'm going to say it. Yeah. Well, then guess what?
Wow.
You got to hire somebody else.
And some people, I mean, they're just crazy. So I had a case, and we mediated the case on final orders. It was all done. It was a couple from Africa. Okay. And afterwards, about 3 weeks later, I called the other attorney and I said, where are the final orders for us to sign? And he said, well, my clients informed me that your client had a witch doctor put a voodoo curse on her during mediation, and until she removes that voodoo curse, she will not be signing anything. And I said, did that voodoo curse also include that she can no longer pay your bill? And he said, as a matter of fact, it did. But I was telling Stephanie that case today, and she goes, well, I got a voodoo story too, or a witch doctor story. You
see it all.
I mean, what's going on with?
Well, I mean, in my situation,
that was crazy.
You know, there are different cultural beliefs, and you know, some people believe that you go to, you know, what some people would call a witch doctor, right, you know, to rid you of a Santeria spell or something of that kind. And I was really moved by a comment made by a judge, which was, you know, you might go to the doctor to take care of your wounds, and you might take conventional medicine, and you might go to physical therapy and whatever. And Tom, we know Tom's going to go get the voodoo doll, and he's going to stick it, and that's how he's going to.
I think he, especially since I put the gavel, I better watch out.
That's how he's going
to. You can stick me; it won't hurt me.
That's how he's going to take care of himself.
Pick me. Okay.
But
anyway,
who is it for the judge to decide whose beliefs are right or wrong?
And how much did you say he spent on the witch doctor or the voodoo doctor?
I believe the testimony was $25,000 and some change over the course of about
We're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
We're in the wrong business.
So Tom's up next. So real quick, this has been so amazing today. We're running out of time, but you guys are, well, at least Stephanie's coming back. I don't know about you, Tom. I don't know. I got to see, I got to go through my...
I just want to come by video.
Do you want to come by video?
I don't like interact. It's coronavirus stuff. You
know. Oh, goodness gracious.
But I want to bring it back real quick to tell everybody again who you are. If people want to reach out to you directly and a little bit more, let's just do that real quick. Stephanie, you go first.
So my name is Stephanie Prophet. It's not like the prophets of the Bible. It's Proffitt. I office downtown on Franklin Street. You can look me up online. I have a website, ProffittFamilyLaw.com. We're more than happy to help. We do free consultations, and we work with anybody's budget. And
that's the lady you want representing you, so give her a call. Okay, go.
And I always remember FFTT because she's twice as friendly and she's
30 seconds.
Twice as tough.
You have 30 seconds.
TomKing.com.
Right there?
TomKing.com.
Is that all you have to say?
Go to TomKing.com, online mediation.
By the way, he is amazing, I have to say.
$250 per side per half day, and I mediate statewide by video conference. So if you're out of town, out of the country, domestic violence, the water main breaks, coronavirus.
Water main breaks. I'm tired of these Houston streets. Let's get this city fixed. And these are the two attorneys you want to call. Have a great Friday. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.